Hi everyone, my name is Ana Moreno and I am the CEO and co-founder of Navega Therapeutics, where we are tackling the opiate epidemic with our patented gene therapy for chronic pain. So there are actually more people in the US suffering from chronic pain than diabetes, heart disease, and cancer combined, with 1 in every 3 Americans suffering from chronic pain. And sadly, opioids are what's actually used mostly to treat these patients, but these have failed us. In the past decade, we've seen a 300% increase in opiate prescriptions without any change in reported pain. Every 1 in 4 people that are prescribed opiates become addicted. This has caused a huge economic burden of over $560 billion due to healthcare and loss of workforce. And sadly, over 120 Americans die each day of an overdose. But going beyond statistics, this is actually a story about people. In our market validation, we've actually made some interviews to some people with chronic pain. Sophie's a 19-year-old college student that has facial pain after a car crash. Brian is a 35-year-old Uber driver that has told us that he's taking different kinds of opioids and still has a pain level of 4. And Joanne is a cancer patient that has told us that she has come very close to stopping her life-saving chemotherapy because of the amount of pain that she's in. And this is why we've developed a highly specific, non-addictive, long-lasting pain gene therapy. We are highly specific because we only target the gene of interest. We are non-addictive. We're not targeting the opioid receptors in the brain. And long-lasting, around 4 weeks. So how does it work? There are human beings that have a mutation in their genome that feel no pain whatsoever. So we were inspired by these people. And how does pain work in general? I promise I'll keep it to 1 slide. So stimuli are detected by neurons that are called nociceptors that can detect changes in pH and heat and cold. This initiates a signal that propagates to the brain. However, they first have to be processed through the dorsal root ganglia. These are cell bodies in your spinal cord. They're processed here before they're detected in the brain as pain. So this is why we're targeting the dorsal root ganglia. As I mentioned, it's in the spinal cord. So we will have a single intrathecal injection, which is very similar to an epidural, and this will give the patient 1 month of pain relief. In a proof of concept, we demonstrated that it works in vivo in mice. The mice that received our therapy not only had a higher pain tolerance, but they also had lower pain levels. And obviously, there are other companies out there that are targeting the same gene. These, however, utilize either small molecules or antibodies. Small molecules, however, are highly specific, and they bind to many unwanted targets and come with a lot of side effects. And antibodies, although they are specific, they usually lack potency, and this is where our competitive advantage comes in. We are potent, specific, and as I mentioned, long-lasting, weeks compared to hours. So in our intellectual property, we have 2 patents licensed through UCSD. The first one is an genome engineering platform that includes pain management, and it's already a worldwide patent since February of 2018. The second one is a tool to evade the immune system. This will help prolong the efficacy of our therapy, and it's also a worldwide patent since September of 2018. I'm currently filing 2 more patents, one that has a second platform from genome engineering, and a second one that actually is pretty interesting. It's a way of prolonging the half-life of small molecules. What that means is that it prolongs the efficacy of small molecules. In addition, in order to build our portfolio, we're actually talking to a large biotech in San Diego about licensing a complementary therapeutic from them. There's a huge US market opportunities, as you can imagine. $155 billion represents chronic pain in the US. We're focusing on inflammatory chronic pain because we demonstrated that it works in this specific model in our mice. We believe that our early adopters are going to be the 200,000 people that have morphine pumps in their spinal cord. These people receive around 40 kilograms of morphine a year. In our business model, we were actually following a very traditional pharmaceutical model where we distribute our drug through doctors and hospitals, which will administer to patients. And patients with the help of insurance will pay us back. We will have a recurring revenue model. As I mentioned, the therapy lasts around a month. So we will have these patients, some of these patients might need a second or third injection. And we will build strategic partnerships with pharmaceutical companies to enable global distribution. And talking about reimbursement, very important. Actually, major components of this therapy are actually already covered by existing CPT codes, and new codes can be petitioned. One that's actually new is an injection of a therapeutic for pain relief. In addition, there are other CPT codes that are used by pain clinics that include new patient evaluation, as well as established patients and follow-ups. In terms of corporate development, right now our project milestone are to move our lab from UCSD into JLab's incubator and hire staff. as well as to publish our third peer-reviewed paper. And that's what we're seeking, our seed fundraising of $500,000 through family and friends, as well as angel investment to cover us through that point. In years 2 and 3, we're going to focus on large animal preclinical studies to test the efficacy in larger animals as well as safety. By year 3, we believe we can file as an investigational new drug with the FDA, followed by human phase 1 and human phase 2 clinical trials. Some exit opportunities would be, for example, some very common exit opportunities would be after human phase 1 clinical trials, after phase 2, or taking it into IPO. An actual example of a human phase 2 clinical trial would be Biogen buy a company for $675 million after phase 2. An example after IPO would be Lilly that bought a company from India for a specific drug for migraine that reached almost $1 billion. For the $500,000, as I mentioned, we wanted to move into J-Labs. We will continue working into specifically into cover research costs, salary, J-Labs rent. So J-Labs does not take any equity in our company, which is what we really care about, and as well as IP costs. In terms of financials, I already talked about what we would do in year 1. For year 2, we're looking at raising $10 million, as I mentioned, to fund our large animal preclinical studies. In terms of efficacy, we want to move into the pig model because the pig is a lot more similar to human models. And in terms of safety, we're going to look into non-human primates to make sure that it's safe going into the clinic. For funding, we're actually excited in the fact that there's a lot of grants through the NIH, specifically for pain, because there's nothing out there that works. And we believe that we can get around $2 million to $3 million from SBIR grants. We already have 4 submitted, so we're waiting to hear back from that. And we'll also be looking into VC investment as well. For revenue projection, obviously this is very far away. However, this is some assumptions that we have upon entering the market. So I mentioned the 200,000 patients with intrathecal pumps. This specific market is growing at a 9.8% due to increasing Asian population. The average cost of an intrathecal pump is $40,000. If we can have an initial adoption of only 2%, upon entering the market, we would have $160 million of revenue. In terms of company traction, we have non-dilutive funding via competitions of $106,000, no debt. We've been in accelerators through UCSD of MyStartup XX and IGE. We've been part of the NSF I-Corp program. We were accepted into J-Labs. And a fun fact was I was interviewed by KPBS, if you want to listen to it. It's online somewhere. We have a really cool team. As I mentioned, I'm Ana Moreno. I'm a PhD candidate of bioengineering at UCSD, graduating in March, so I'm really busy. I bring over 6 years experience in gene therapy and molecular biology. Dr. Prashant Mali, the co-founder, is a gene therapy innovator and comes from the George Church Lab out of Harvard. Dr. Fernando Aleman, who's sitting back there, has over 10 years of experience in molecular biology, immunology, and also holds a PharmD from Spain. Dr. Tony Yash is our pain specialist and advisor. He has over 40 years experience in this field and is actually an advisor at the NIH for the opioid epidemic. And Randy A. Woods is our business advisor. He's the CEO of Syphilis, serial entrepreneur, and he's actually helping us now in terms of preparing for VC funding. In summary, we have a dynamic team with business and scientific experience, a very clearly defined path to market and business model, a huge market opportunity with non-dilutive funding available, a clear competitive advantage and know-how. We have 2 patents licensed through UCSD, promising results in animal model, and non-dilutive funding already obtained. At Navega, we believe that patients should not have to decide whether they live a life of pain or one free of addiction. Thank you for your time.
This is Leo Lens Technology.
Thank you, everyone. My name is Kenny Key. I'm the COO of Leo Lens Technology. Leo Lens is focused on commercializing a drug-eluting, comfort-enhancing contact lens to treat millions of patients. When I first met our founder, he told me his mission was to help prevent blindness. This spoke to me as my grandmother went blind in her 60s, and I saw the devastating impacts it had on her quality of life. If blindness hasn't impacted you, close your eyes for a few seconds. Now imagine waking up like that every day. Imagine not being able to see your kids or see your grandkids. The impacts can be devastating. So I'm going to talk to you today a little bit more about that problem our team is working on, our patented solution, our pipeline of products, and our plan for going after a $10 billion market in the US. At the end, I hope you're interested in participating in our current round to help bring our treatment option to patients. There's a large market opportunity in the ophthalmic sector. For glaucoma and dry eye alone, there's over a $5 billion addressable market in the US. We've targeted a subset of about 300,000 patients in the US that we can treat within the first 5 years of our product being approved. This would represent about a $500 million a year revenue opportunity, I'm sorry. The reason there's such a large market opportunity is there's a large unmet need in ophthalmic drug delivery. Although eye drops have been around for over 40 years, they remain the standard of care for over 90% of patients, despite a compliance rate of only 50% and known side effects. Even those who are compliant, most misdose, and a majority discontinue their treatment in the first year. This leads millions to suffer from disease progression and thousands to suffer from avoidable blindness. There's a large unmet need for a better, non-invasive treatment option, and we at LeoLens are driven to provide that better treatment option for our patients. Currently, patients are forced to choose between some kind of invasive surgery and taking eye drops. So there's a number of companies trying to develop solutions to bridge the gap between those two. However, we are the only company and technology out there that can meet all of the required characteristics that have been outlined by industry. Notably, we're the only company that can combine the cost effectiveness of drops with the increased compliance of surgical interventions. There are others attempting to develop contact lens delivery systems. They suffer from the fact that they require de novo lens material, which complicates the regulatory approval process and requires new manufacturing techniques that are expensive and unlikely to scale. There's two that are the most common out there is the soaking technique, where they modify the lens material to soak more of the drug from the solution. That has issues with their release kinetics. And the other technique is encapsulation, where they have a new manufacturing process where they try to encapsulate the drug in between the sandwich layer of the lens, which is going to be unlikely to scale and is very costly right now. So by being able to meet all of the characteristics, we have a competitive advantage to lead the next generation of ocular drug delivery. We do that with a proprietary technology that allows us to turn current FDA-approved contact lenses into sustained drug delivery systems. We currently have 4 patents for a proprietary printing process and ink chemistry. That chemistry allows us to incorporate various drugs into a printable formulation that we can print on the surface of a contact lens. By building different barrier and drug layers, we can control the rate of diffusion of the drug for controlled sustained release for up to 7 days. And the beauty of this technology is it was designed from the ground up to incorporate easily with current manufacturing equipment. So the front end lens production equipment and the back end hydration and packaging stays the same. The only additional step we add is terminal sterilization with its drug product. This allows us to more easily scale to commercial manufacturing while being able to keep the cost low to patients. So the question remains, does it work and is there any demand? To answer the first question, we've conducted a number of non-clinical studies to demonstrate the safety and efficacy of our products. This is an example of a pharmacodynamic study we conducted with our glaucoma product in a rabbit population. Here we are measuring intraocular pressure, as that is a standard indicator for glaucoma. As you can see by the blue line here, the rabbits treated with our lens showed a sustained lowered IOP for the full 7-day period, while those taking eye drops had a fluctuating IOP, which is common for eye drop treatments. This demonstrates our ability to release a therapeutically effective amount for the full 7 days. To answer the second question, we've conducted a number of market surveys and focus groups of leading practitioners, and a couple of the key takeaways are over half of their patients are compliant, which we know. 65% of them would definitely or very likely prescribe our lens if it was available on the market today, and over 90% of them would prescribe it to all of their patients, not just those who are currently wearing contact lens. Notably, there was a recent UK patient survey, which is very important. There hasn't been a lot of these. And of the age ranges that are common for glaucoma patients and our targeted age ranges, in that 50 to 69, over half the patients would accept a contact lens as the drug delivery system for their disease. So based on this demand, our team has been busy building a pipeline of products so we have multiple shots on goal for commercial success. We are currently focused on our glaucoma product and our end-of-day comfort product. The glaucoma product is ready for IND submission and is the focus of our current fundraise. Once that has been established in the clinic, we're going to take our dry eye product to the clinic and then follow up and continue our development work with our allergy, myopia, and back of the eye disease products. So we have a nice pipeline, we have good non-clinical data, and we have demand. How do we get to the market and how do we make money? We recently had our pre-IND meeting with the FDA to confirm our regulatory strategy. That meeting confirmed that we'll be regulated as a drug and we could use the expedited 505(b)(2) drug pathway. This will allow us to go directly into a phase 2 study prior to running our larger phase 3 studies that are required for NDA and eventual commercialization. After talking to our vendors, we are confident that we can get fully to approval for less than $20 million in about 3 to 3.5 years. And the beauty of the technology is because it's a platform, we can go through a similar approval process with the rest of the products I laid out in our pipeline. If we haven't sold or licensed our technology prior to approval, we will go after the market in 3 steps. Initially, while the product is going through clinicals, we'll continue to build out our KOL network as we'll be the leading advocates of our technology. We will then do a marketing and PR campaign to expand the awareness of our technology while bringing on a small sales force. That sales force will target our initial customers. Those are ODs who have a large glaucoma practice, specifically the 1,000 ODs who are currently high prescribers of glaucoma medications, and MDs who have a contact lens fitter in their office, specifically those who have high rates of SLT treatment. Once we've established sales in the US, we will look to license the technology to a strategic partner to take advantage of their sales and distribution networks. With the proper resources, we can be, with our glaucoma product alone, we can be EBITDA positive in 4 years with the goal of treating over 36,000 patients by year 5, which will generate over $60 million in revenue, shooting towards $100 million a year in revenue just from the glaucoma product alone. In those first 5 years, we fully expect our comfort and our dry eye product to be approved as well, which will only add to the revenue. To protect our technology, we have a global patent portfolio, and we currently have 4 granted patents in the US that protect our process, our lens, the method of making the lens, and the method of treatment of the lens. We also have patents in 11 foreign countries and counting. We are currently raising $2 million for 2 key milestones, which is submitting our IND and running our phase 2 study. This will allow us to get to a major valuation inflection point within the next 6 months. To execute on this plan, we put together a really good team. And our company was founded by Praful Doshi. He's a contact lens industry veteran with multiple patents to his name and previous device approvals. To see his vision realized, he supplemented his team with over 150 years of experience with device and drug development, approvals, and commercialization. We've also put together a great advisory team that has run successfully multiple ophthalmic clinical trials. There's been a number of exits in this space in the last few years, both on the M&A and on the IPO front. And our team is confident we could go through either route if we hit the milestones that I've laid out for you. So to summarize, we have a disruptive technology, and there's been over $6.5 million of non-dilutive funding already put into the company to get us to where we are today. That has allowed us to create a unique value proposition for 4 key stakeholder groups. For patients, we offer a better treatment option with lower side effects at a price point comparable to drops. For practitioners, we offer all of those benefits to their patients, plus an additional revenue stream for the practice that they can't get from eye drop prescriptions. For partners, we offer a platform technology with expedited approval and the ability to integrate with current manufacturing equipment to scale. And for payers, we offer a way to reduce the cost of treating ocular diseases. So thank you for your time and hope you guys can join our round to help us bring this treatment option to millions of patients. Thank you.
I'm Andrew Gray, and I'm the founder and CEO of Karma Biotechnologies. Autoimmunity is a blight on our society, and over 50 million Americans are affected by some form of autoimmune disease in the nation. It actually costs more to treat every year than cancer, which blew my mind. I didn't know that. This is only for the top 7 diseases out of over 100. So this is a massive problem, and it doesn't include things like allergies and food sensitivities. And despite all of this expense, you would think the treatments would be state of the art, but they're not. They're very, very primitive. We essentially suppress the entire immune system just to knock down the few rogue autoimmune cells that are actually causing the problem. And I know this from personal experience. When I was 8 years old, my mother was diagnosed with Myasthenia Gravis, which is an incurable autoimmune disease that can only be held at bay through a brutal regime of immune suppression. Since then, I have been on a quest to figure out a better way. I've dedicated my entire career to learning the immune system, how it works, why it fails, and above all, how it can be engineered to achieve the holy grail of being able to take out just the autoimmune cells and leave the rest of the immune system functional. Fortunately, we are entering a time where the technology and know-how to realize this dream is finally available. Thanks to the incredible advances in immuno-oncology, we are entering the golden age of immune engineering. You see, tumors are supremely good at switching off the immune cells that are sent in to attack them. And understanding how they achieve this was the work of over 30 years of research. And once those mechanisms were understood, that's when immuno-oncology finally blossomed. And I was part of this. During my PhD, I was one of the people who studied how it is that tumors evade cancer vaccines. And during that work, I had my epiphany, my light bulb moment. The very same mechanisms in the body that cancers hijack to switch off the immune cells that attack them, we can use those same mechanisms to switch off autoimmune attack. And thanks to all of these breakthroughs, it's not just the science that's ready, the market is too. Because of this success in immuno-oncology, big pharma is now looking for the next frontier in immunotherapies, and treating autoimmunity is going to be it. Karma is using these breakthroughs to solve autoimmunity by making xavines. What's a xavine? You've never heard of one because we invented the word and trademarked it because nobody else had thought of it. A xavine, as the name suggests, is the opposite of a vaccine. A vaccine trains the immune system to recognize and attack a specific target. A xavine does the opposite. It's a universal therapeutic that engineers immune cells so that they recognize but they tolerate a specific antigen, such as collagen in rheumatoid arthritis patients. So how will this work? Well, we at Karma envision a world where xavines will be deployed much the same way that vaccines are today. Our patent-pending nanoparticles will be injected into the patient just like a vaccine, and they will be encountered by antigen-presenting cells that are out on patrol, doing their thing, looking for trouble. Antigen-presenting cells are our target because they're the command and control cells that dictate everything the immune system does. So if you target them, you can have big knock-on effects later. Once the xavines have entered the antigen-presenting cells, they become activated. They do two things. One, they expose the APCs to the autoantigen in question. That gives us our specificity. And two, they kickstart the genetic program that drives the APCs into tolerogenic mode. Once they're in that mode, they go to the lymph nodes, and then they do their critical job, which is that they induce regulatory T cells that are antigen-specific. This is a whole army of suppressive T cells that go out into the body. Wherever they find that autoimmune reaction, they shut it down. And the best part is that with enough xavine treatments, this can last for decades. Tregs patrol for a long, long time and prevent disease from returning. Xavines address enormous markets. So as I've alluded to, autoimmunity is absolutely huge, over $100 billion every year just to treat the top 7. But xavines are easily adapted also to food sensitivities and allergies, which are themselves multi-billion-dollar markets. We designed xavines to be really attractive targets to be licensed by big pharma. First of all, we made them universal. And what I mean by that is that the same xavine can be used in every patient. Unlike most immunotherapies, like CAR T cells for cancer, which you've probably heard of, they are not specific for each patient. You're not taking cells out of the body and engineering them and putting them back, which is incredibly expensive. So we avoid all of that. The doctor will just be able to prescribe the xavine and inject it into the patient, and it's done. Secondly, the design is modular. We switch out the autoantigen module to make different xavines for different diseases. That's very straightforward. Third, we designed these to be used at the same time as the current crop of drugs that are used for autoimmunity. So we're complementing instead of competing. It's really important because we don't want to cannibalize our partners' sales as we're being adopted by the market. And finally, we designed xavines to be safe. Our proprietary technology means that the xavines will only be activated in the antigen-presenting cells. If they accidentally end up in any other cell type, they remain inert and just get biodegraded. So this is a critical safety feature of our product. Our business model is to do the preclinical development of xavines and then hand them off to a larger partner to do the clinical trials. Our first product will be a xavine for rheumatoid arthritis, which will develop to the IND approval stage and then out-license. The upfronts and milestones from that will be then put back into our R&D program to develop a whole pipeline of xavines, and we repeat this process over and over. Our most likely exit is acquisition, but we're open to an IPO if the conditions are right at the time. I'm blessed with a stellar team around me. My background is that I'm a PhD immune engineer, but my first company that I co-founded was a nanoparticle company that delivered cancer drugs to tumors. By combining these two skill sets, I was able to conceive, design, and build the Xavier platform from scratch. Karma owns all the IP. We didn't license anything from anyone, and we built this with $100,000 in pre-seed investment. Alan Johnson is my co-founder. He's a chemist with over 20 years of experience in industry. He's responsible for building and optimizing the nanoparticles. Christine Yu is our BD expert. She has 6 years at Novartis. From there, she was recruited by Flagship Ventures to build one of their companies from one person, which was her, all the way up to 50. We have a stellar advisory board too in cell-specific expression, regulatory science, and immune engineering. And we're backed by Mars Bio VC right now, so we're based in their labs in downtown LA. So to recap, we are entering a time where we can engineer immune tolerance in vivo right now. The opportunity to solve autoimmunity is here, and it's enormous. Our product is universal. We are not relying on bespoke cell-based therapies that are unique to each patient. And we have all of the pieces. We're building our MVP Xavier in the lab right now and testing it. And although we've built that core technology, it's time for us to grow. We need to get past the critical in vivo efficacy step. So we are raising a $2 million seed right now. We'll use the funds to expand our scientific team, do our in vitro and in vivo testing, and secure our first couple of partnerships with Big Pharma. And with that, I'll take any questions you have.